Look at that. No sidewalk on a major road. Multi-lane, major road. No sidewalk. Traffic. Freaking trucks. Trucks. Cars. Ah, there you go. A little bit of space to walk on. So you call not the best thinking. Okay, there's worse roads than that. Much, much worse. Still, when you have a road that has a sort of pavement going to a point where the pavement just disappears into a frickin' bush, it's like, okay, I see where I got you. I know your game. I know what you're playing. The bad infrastructure game, even though you have decent infrastructure in general, or the potential to have it, and you have the mask of good infrastructure in general, and yet you cover yourself with this bad infrastructure nonsense. All I can say is it's a heck of a game to play. You have all this massive amount of resources, right? Relatively, and you use them in this way. I mean, okay, there could be worse things you could be doing with it. Nonetheless, there could be better things. Oh, what do you mean? How can you be so cruel? How can you be so not loving of the way they do things? Hey, just because I choose to be in a place doesn't mean I think it's perfect. There's always room for improvement, right? You can't criticize the place you are in. What good is that? So keep that in mind. People who love the place that they're in, it is always good to be at least slightly critical. Not just to be negative. That's not being critical. That's just being negative. To be willing and able to point out the things that are potential areas of improvement. You can always say, well, I'm going to point out the imperfections. Yes, there are always going to be imperfections. That's the universe we live in. Right? Nothing is perfect except for imperfection. In that sense, everything can always be somewhat improved. So, and that doesn't make anybody any particular lesser amount of a citizen or fan or patriot or whatever you want to call it. Not that any of that really matters, because that's just word salad, really. Okay. Yes, it's spring and flowers are blooming. And in the cosmos, filled with billions and billions of stars, and billions of galaxies, across trillions and trillions of light years. What we are privileged to experience here on this planet is sometimes the hilarity of the foolish ways that people do things. And I say foolish ways because it truly is remarkably foolish how people do some things. Why do I say that? Well, consider the non-random, yet random, flight pattern of a butterfly. Is it really moving with geometric Brownian motion randomly because the wind is kind of moving it along more than it's able to fly through, if there's any gust of wind at all? Well, no. It still has some amount of input into the direction, even if there's wind, because yes, the wind may be a greater force, but the butterfly's force also counts for something, tiny as it may be. Is it negligible? I guess that depends on the size of your wind and strength of the wind and what you define as negligible. So, and if you think about it, the actions that people do can be quite hilarious, obviously. They are quite hilarious. Like building that little road, that crazy road. And yet here you have a nice, just down the street from it, you have a nice trail road, bike path or whatever, walking road. Cars can even drive on it. It's fairly well made. So you have sometimes just like a lazy project planner who does one street, and then a more ambitious project planner who does the next street in terms of laying out the roads, right? Or just the budget was peeled out that way instead of being more evenly distributed. Oh, we're going to make this area nicer and that area less nice. Why? Why not just make the whole area roughly the same amount of niceness that you can afford? Why not spread it out? Well, it's not all done at the same time. Okay. So if it's not all done at the same time, then why don't you just pour maximum niceness into each thing you do, even if it just saves more time? Well, we need to do these things quicker. Okay, well then do them quicker. Well, they take time. You can't have it both ways. Either it takes time, or you want to do it quicker. Either you want maximum niceness, or for some reason you don't. And we all know the reason, that local governments tend not to do maximum niceness. It happens in local governments all over the world. Grease, right? Squeaky wheel gets the grease. In a lot of countries, a lot of jurisdictions, the local government is where squeaky wheels get the grease. Very often it's who you know. Very often it's not necessarily what you know or what you do. And look, every local government is somewhat different, right? Some are better than others. Some are very strictly according to the rules, no messing about, kind of neat. Others are a bit more compassionate with their citizens, and they understand things and they're willing to be more flexible. Some have pretty dark issues to contend with, and they may be a little bit less than transparent, and may have a little bit less than high integrity or high character. That's what brings me to the next topic, which is really what is the path, right? If you want to be quote unquote successful in anything you do. And this may come as a surprise, because it's not usually what people think it is. The path is very much not all about the riches, right? The material wealth. In fact, if you think it is about the material wealth, you've got another thing coming. Because the path is very much about something entirely different than just material wealth, right? Material wealth is just a sometimes byproduct of certain paths. But it really does not express in any way the true success of a person. It just shows how many material resources a person has been able to lay their hands on. What is it that actually demonstrates success? I would say, and I can say, it all comes down to integrity, character, trust. Those things put together equal value. If you have integrity, and you have good character, and people trust you, well, then you have real value that you bring to the world. No matter where you go, no matter what you do. Why? Because, well, if you don't have integrity, people don't value that as much. If you don't have good character, there's also a lesser value associated with that. You don't have good trust. If you're not trustworthy, people will also see that as having less of a value. So integrity, you could add dignity to that if you want. It's part and parcel. Integrity and character. Dignity. If you're a dignified person or not. Integrity, dignity, character, and trust. Those are the things that determine whether or not you have the ability to bring value So, I know, not the usual kind of topic I talk about, but I don't want to drone on about it. The way you have all these annoying fake success gurus, the ones who literally tell you to fake it till you make it, right? Until you're financially well off. They tell you to just push and it's all about the money, it's all about the Benjamins. It's really not all about the Benjamins. Think about it. Say you have all the Benjamins that you need and more. You have more Benjamins you could possibly ever use. Go down to the city or wherever to buy something from some store. Are you going to go to a store that you think has no integrity, where they're known for ripping people off? No, you're going to probably not want to do that unless you have no choice, in which case you're going to be extremely careful, and overall you're going to put a lesser value on whatever that experience is, even if you prize whatever it is that you're buying there. But it's not going to be your optimal choice, right? If you had a better choice, you'd probably take it. If they had a store next door or even across town, or even in a different city that had better integrity, far better reputation than having better integrity. That store was undignified, treated everybody like crap, disrespected themselves, treated you like crap. Same thing, you probably wouldn't put so much of a value on the experience of going there and buying whatever they sell, right? Even if you needed what they sell. You wouldn't enjoy the experience as much. You wouldn't put so much of a value on them as people. Even if you value what it is you get from them, which is not them, it's a thing they're delivering to you. And if they had no character, right? If their character wasn't good, would you really want to trust that they're not ripping you off? Would you really trust that they're giving you the best possible product for the best possible price? Or the best possible service for the best possible price? When they tell you, yeah, we'll give you the best deal in town, but you know they don't have good character, would you really believe them? No, probably not. You probably have a lesser value in your mind about them. Again, even if you need that product or service, it's not a choice. You absolutely have to have it, right? You still value the experience and the transaction less, and the people involved on the other side of that trade with you value them less because of their lack of good character. And if you couldn't trust them, if they were not trustworthy, if they had a reputation for being not trustworthy, if you had experience with them as being not trustworthy, and yet you still needed to make that purchase from them for whatever reason, would you value it more or less? You'd value it less. Now they'll tell you, no, you value it more because you still came and purchased from me even though you don't trust me. Yeah, because you didn't have a choice. Okay? If you didn't have a choice, you can only get it from them and you need it to survive or keep a loved one alive or whatever. Okay? Maintain your business. Doesn't matter. Something absolutely necessary. If you don't have it, you're screwed. Your whole life is screwed. Your loved ones are screwed. Terrible things will happen. Now, they're not your white knight in shining armor just because they happen to have the product or service. They just happen to have it. And they're going to screw you as hard as they can for you to be able to get that. Right? So, would you value that transaction more or less than if they were trustworthy? Obviously, if they're not trustworthy, you're going to value it less. Even if you pay a high price for it, even if you pay a higher price for it because they're the only choice for it. And if there were multiple choices, and one side is more trustworthy and one side is less trustworthy, who are you going to go with? Same thing with if all things being equal, one side has more character and the other merchant has less character. Which one are you going to go with? The merchant with more character or the merchant with less character? Same thing with dignity. Which one are you going to go with? The one who has more dignity or less dignity? Okay. Integrity. Which one are you going to go with? The merchant with more integrity or the merchant with less integrity? So there's your square meal for success. It comes down to integrity, dignity, character, and trust. If you have those four qualities, if you bring those four qualities to the table in everything you do, yeah, you can still be a funny man, a joker, whatever. You can be a comedian, you can have good humor. You can also be straight-laced, boring, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter what your personality type or traits are. As long as you bring integrity, dignity, good character, and trust. Now, I know you'll tell me, well, that's not the only thing that brings value. You like Bitcoin, and Bitcoin is all about trustlessness. Yes, Bitcoin and cryptos are all about trustlessness. Because those are electronic, peer-to-peer cash systems. Those are not human beings. Bitcoin is not a person. Right? Litecoin, Ethereum, Solana, these are not people. They're electronic formats of money and value exchange and security networks and stores of value and uncensorable mechanisms and archival mechanisms and etc., etc. But they're not people. Okay? Even if somebody tokenizes themselves, and yes, some people have, that doesn't make them an actual cryptocurrency. Right? Even if you lease or sell part of your body to the fools who think that they actually get to own it, well, you're still not a cryptocurrency. If you're a person, you're a person. Period. End of story. Now, you can tell me, well, in the future, people might be hybrid cyborgs. As long as they're people, they're people. Okay? What about why people want to identify as cyborgs? Okay? So let them identify as cyborgs. They're still people. As long as they're treated like people, as long as they're taxed like people, as long as they have civil rights the same as people, they're people. Doesn't matter if whatever they identify as, who cares? Call them robot, it doesn't matter. They're still people. They're people calling themselves robots. So, again, Bitcoin is not a people. No matter how much it wants to identify as something else. And it doesn't. It's just a math protocol. So that is very good. That you don't need to trust it. You can trust that it works really well because it does, but you don't need to. That's the beauty of it. You can verify it. Right? You can verify that it works. That is literally the beauty of it. It works really well, and you can verify that. And so, come near the end of this particular journey. And by journey, I mean video. I just want to remind you, the path, what people consider to be success, is usually greatly misunderstood as some kind of financial path, when in truth, it has little or nothing to do with that path. In fact, road to success is quite simply all about having those core ingredients: integrity, dignity, good character, and trust. Now, could you say that that is what brings value, but if you switched out trust for verification, it wouldn't be more valuable? Okay, I will grant you that you could, in theory, swap trust for verification, because ultimately, verification is what earns trust most of the time, in a humanistic, naturalistic way, where you can prove things with scientific experiments. If you have to trust on blind faith, that's an entirely different story and not the topic of this video. But if you trust in a verifiable way, that is a real form of trust. So again, I say integrity, dignity, good character, and trust or verification. That is the road to having real value, and that as a measure of success. Alright, that's it for now. Take care.